What's up, everybody? This is Piyush Kukreja, and you're listening to the Piyush Kukreja Show, where I interview digital marketing experts and also share my digital marketing journey, knowledge, and many more things. And today is going to be I'm making a history because today I'm interviewing man himself, GOAT himself, the greatest of all time, the legendary James Smiley. Today's guest is someone who has taken two businesses from scratch to more than $20 million, and he has also partnered with people like Shark Tanks, like Kevin Harrington. He has shared stage with Gary Vaynerchuk. He has also been part of 40 under 40. He's featured as 40 under 40, and he's also starting a business called Mentor Love, and he's doing many more things, many achievements. I'm just telling you in short. So thank you very much, James. I'm really grateful to have you on my show. So welcome to the show, James.
Piyush, man, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate your audience. Appreciate all the stuff you're doing for the entrepreneur community. Let's add some value. Let's help some people out, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, man. James is known as Value. Second name should be Value, Value, Value. I'm being part of your group, Never Be Broke Again, and also your recent Indian group. It's really honor to have you. I guess it might be the first time you are being part of an Indian podcast show, something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that's why I'm so excited.
Yes, I am making a history. I think I have made the history. James is first time on Indian podcast show, and I'm the one to host him for first time. So it's really great and honor to have you on show. So let's begin. So first of all, James, I would love to. Me and my audience would love to know your story. What's your story?
My story, man. To be honest, I grew up in Seattle, which is a big tech community, massive Indian community up there. Awesome. So Microsoft, Amazon, lots of big tech companies are out of the Northwest. But I grew up super poor. So in America, I grew up like way poor. Which it's funny though, poor in America is like the government gives you food and house, right? Like that's not really poor around the world, right? But yeah, so to American terms, I grew up really poor. I mean, I remember grocery shopping with my parents for $6 a week, and just doing stuff like that. You know, like I remember like just feeling poor in that pressure of like, you know, wanting something and looking at other people's stuff and like thinking like, how did they do that? How did they get that? How did they earn that? And I just remember like always asking my dad, like, how come we can't be like that? And I was so young, I didn't really know how to articulate my words right. But what I was really saying was like, how do I work hard enough? How do I earn enough? What do I have to do? How many jobs do I have to get that? You know what I mean? Like to live that life. And I just realized really young, I mean, I made my first six figures when I was 20. I used to build homes in poor neighborhoods in Mexico, in little villages. So I was a part of a group that would build these in the summer. And so we would spend all year to raise $6,000 to build one home. Okay. When I made six figures at 20 years old, I built six homes completely by myself. I literally remember like writing a check. Back then we used checks, right? Like today it's like, I've said that to millennials and I'm a millennial, but I said it to younger millennials and they're like, what's a check? Yes. It's before like debit cards were hot.
This is a modern era. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember like writing a check and I paid for six homes and I remember that feeling of fulfillment and feeling of purpose and legacy and all those kind of things. And like you're taking care of real people and helping people and sharing the wealth and all those kind of things. And I remember this revelation that money enables things. Like money shouldn't rule your world. It shouldn't rule your mind. I mean, I live here in a mini mansion, got all the things that I think I want right now at my age, but it's like still at that, the most important thing is that I have peace, you know, and that I have a gratefulness. And I can tell you, no matter how much money you have in the bank, no matter where you are in the world, if you can figure out how to be grateful, that is truly the feeling of rich. That is the real feeling of rich.
That's really true. Money is a byproduct, but feeling grateful is really necessary, I would say. Yes.
Yeah. So in my early 20s, I became part of a tech company called Telenav. We were the first Google Maps. Well, Google Maps basically like took all of our intellectual property and developed Google Maps. So we were like the first version of Google Maps. we were preloaded on 80% of cell phones in America, which was huge. We had 15.5 million subscribers. I led the entire company. I led all the sales, most of marketing, and I got deals with all the big cell phone companies. And basically, I wasn't a business person. I wasn't a B2B kid. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't have a degree. I just went out and hustled really hard. And I remember, like, you know, getting the contract with Verizon or some of these big companies. And I just remember, like, walking into the parking lot. And like I knew, like, where the one of the VPs of marketing, I knew, like, where she parked because it had a sign with her name on it. I knew she parked there, and I knew she had to walk over to the building. So I literally, when I was a kid, I went there, rented a plane, got in a rental car, not rented a plane, but rented a car, went over there and waited for her. And like 3-4 days in a row, I talked to her for 5 minutes in the parking lot. And finally at the end of that, she let us in the door. Long story short, that one deal ended up being over $10 million in sales in the first, like, 6 to 10 months. $10 million. And I've literally just had to go stand in the parking lot for 4 days in a row. You know what I mean? So I learned really young, like, you know, a lot of my insecurities, a lot of my failures, a lot of the things that were shortcomings, I could find a way to make those things my positives. You know what I mean? And so yeah, man, like, after that, I just started hustling and, like, doing a lot of consulting with companies. I helped start a company called Boost Mobile. We went to 4.4 million subscribers from nothing. So that was a huge success. I consulted for some big companies. I wanted to see if I could do big companies, small companies. So I did AT&T, Facebook, and Amazon. Facebook was really cool. I did the stuff that eventually became Facebook Messenger bots. So I did a lot of consulting for that. I did stuff with Amazon, a thing called Amazon Locker, which is really big in the U.S. It's actually big around the world too, where they'll ship boxes to these, like, little lockers and stuff. So we put all that stuff together for them. But one of the things in my heart all along was I knew that this wave of entrepreneurism, of really solopreneurs, of people who are going to leverage the internet, their phone, high-speed internet, social media, apps, cloud computing, all these things, they were going to use those things to develop apps, services, info products, you know, and I knew that was coming. And so because I knew it was coming, I also knew that the weakness, I had a big passion for those people, and I thought it was so cool, but I knew that the weakness was going to be, like, they weren't going to know, they weren't going to have systems and processes or have mentorship, which really is the key. You know what I mean? Like mentorship and having somebody to be there, look over your shoulder, understand your business with you, like those kind of things. They weren't going to have that. And so that's where I started kind of the companies that we run now. And it's been awesome. We've literally helped hundreds and hundreds of solopreneurs. And now we're starting a huge effort this year to reach entrepreneurs around the world. So we start launching a couple countries, and it's just been one thing after another. It's been awesome.
That's really great. Thank you for sharing your story. It's kind of really inspiring. Today's 2019 now, entrepreneurs is cool. And at that time, when you started in 80s and 90s, the entrepreneur was kind of like a weird thing. I think so. Just we were sharing before this. So what are the struggles you faced in initial stages when you used to do this entrepreneurship, and how people used to react and react to you and talk to you?
You know, I think the biggest thing that I struggled with, and I think people still struggle with today, is having an ability to believe in yourself. Just being honest. I mean, like I now, like, I can say things and I kind of know if I'm right or wrong. Usually I'm not always right, definitely not always right, but I kind of get a hunch and I can just say something bold and end up being right. Well, when I was young, I didn't know. And so I didn't know what was right or what was wrong. And I didn't believe in my own gut instinct. I didn't believe, like, when I was in a meeting, I'd almost think, like, why am I here? I'm not like these people. I'm from the hood. Like, I don't talk like these people. And also, like, just to be honest, okay, like, I wasn't, like, super, like, I was really good at math and science. And I was really good at athletics, but I wasn't, like, an English or, a language kind of person. And so, like, I didn't even understand what people were saying. Like, that's how, when I started in business, like, I'd be in meetings And I just remember like not fully understanding what in the hell was going on. Like 6 people are talking, 3 different companies, and here I am like kind of in the middle of it. And they're like talking and saying phrases like, well, I don't want to be the one here to be to have my hand in the bag at the 11th hour, and I'm like, what the heck does my hand in the bag at the 11th hour? Like, what are these guys talking about? Like, I didn't understand the analogies. I didn't understand what they're talking about. I didn't understand the pace of the conversation. But what I did was, man, I took a lot of notes. And this is, I truly believe, and I had people tell me this is why I accelerated, is, man, I took notes and notes and notes. And every time I heard a phrase that I didn't understand, I literally wrote it down. And so eventually I had like books and books and books like this with all these phrases, like hundreds of them that I didn't know. I didn't know what this acronym meant, or what triple DES was, or, CDMA, or I didn't know any of that stuff was, I didn't know what, so what I would do is I would get out of the meeting, and I remember driving back, and I would ask people questions. I would say like, hey man, like, what did this mean? What is this acronym? What does this mean? What does that mean? And this is true mentorship. You know what I mean? Like people, and I couldn't believe how they were so excited to share it with me. Like, it was stuff that they knew, that they're 50, 60, 45, and they're like, man, if I can pass this to this young 20-year-old kid, I'm so excited to be able to do it, And so they were just enabling me and helping me and mentoring me. And then stuff I didn't learn, or I didn't have time to ask. See, I didn't let that stop me. Like, okay, I didn't have enough time to ask somebody, so don't blame them. Don't blame your life. I just went on the internet. The internet was just coming out. I went on the internet and searched for it. You know what I mean? And figured out what this word meant, what this phrase meant, what this meant, what that meant. And so anyway, I mean, like I've said before, like I really got into being an entrepreneur because in high school, my one of my high school business class teachers, he goes, man, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you are flat out an entrepreneur. And I was like, well, what is that? How do you spell it? Like, I never heard the word. Like, what is it? And he said, well, it's basically for people who like can't really fit into society and they can't really like get a job. I remember him telling me this.
Yes, yes.
And he's like, he's basically like, it's for the uncool people who still want to go do something. And then so I remember like telling people that, like, as we started Telenav, and like I didn't even know. Like, I'm a part of Silicon Valley, the .com era, the mobile apps. Like, I'm in the cusp. This is like the beginning of the smartphone era. I'm on the beginning of all these huge things, and I'm so out of it. Like, I'm not connected. I didn't have a dad who was connected. Like I didn't even know I was sitting in the middle of the gold mine. Like, I literally didn't even know. And but like I just dedicated myself to like learn as much as I could, as fast as I could. Like I remember telling people because people would ask me, they're like, man, you're doing well, you're starting Telenav, all this stuff. Like, what do you want to be, man? What's your end game? I remember people saying that, what's your end game? I had to like look that up. Like, what the heck does that mean? What's your end game? And I used to tell them, like, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And I remember people literally saying, like, talking down to me, they're like, what's the matter, kid? You can't get a job? I remember like somebody telling me that, and I was like, dude, like, no one thinks this is cool. Like, it's not, but it's funny how nowadays it's like, it's the new thing, right? Like, if you're a sports player, you're an entrepreneur.
Yes, exactly.
If you write songs, you're an entrepreneur. If you sold something on eBay, entrepreneur.
Yeah, even this Shopify, entrepreneur, and everything. Yeah. Every single one is nowadays calling himself as an entrepreneur. And you started back then when nobody knows the word called entrepreneur, right? So it's really great. So I had this the most important question I get one of my friends and also told me, ask James this thing, that what is the secret behind taking the business from scratch to more than $20 million, and that took twice. So people even don't make million. Once you made twice $20 million, that's really an achievement for somebody. So what was the secret sauce, if you could share with the audience?
Yeah, I've had literally people ask me that. I mean, and I appreciate the question. They said, look, man, I just want to be honest. Did you really do like 0 to 20 million twice? I said, absolutely. 110% verified, like everything, like full out verified. And I mean, one was with the Fortune 10 AT&T. So like that's actually documented in PR press releases.
Yes, yes, I also gone through the articles also. That's the reason I came through this question.
Yeah, like we started a new business within AT&T using AT&T Capital, which is a venture capital company within AT&T. This is all, you can Google all this stuff. And we had a $300 million round of funding. We got 30 million of that. My division did, and we went from 0 to 24 million in 2 years on that money. So number one, the answer to that, the biggest answer to that is realizing you, James Smiley, is not the answer. And like, unless you really understand that, you will never have a chance. Like you have to, like, even in the solopreneur world, you still need some help, right? If you may not be trying to go to 20 million, you might be trying to go to 10 to 20,000, or 200,000, but you have to realize like you are not the answer. You know what I mean? And in that you need help. And that, so now I'm not saying like, don't have confidence I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like, there's a level, like there's this balance, this healthy balance of like, I almost want to say like eagerness and cockiness about it. Like when people are like, hey man, can you go 0 to 20? I'm like, I'll do it. And no one at AT&T wanted to do it. It's highly political. It's a career death trap. So they found a guy like me outside the company who was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'll do it. I'll do it for sure. So like it took a crazy guy like me, kind of like, like a ball buster kind of dude like me to do it. But at the same time, in parallel with that, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror. And every time somebody gives you a compliment, you hand that off to the team. Because man, you let it go to your head, and that's how you have a good first quarter. But then it all falls apart in the back half of the year or something, because people don't want to, you can't lead people like that. You know what I mean? You just can't. And people don't want to follow somebody like that. So I think that's one big thing. I think the other thing is like kind of a soft thing that is super, super important is finding number one talent, like the best. Okay. Like we ran job ads and it didn't say, I'm looking for a good salesperson. It said, if you can't make $300,000 a year, do not apply here.
Oh.
Like you got to have some balls to apply to that job. Like you got to be seriously gutsy to apply to a job that says, if you can't make $300,000 a year in commission, do not apply here. Like support questions, support people. We're like, if you're not the best of the best, do not apply. You know what I mean? Like, so, getting top talent was huge. But then, okay, in terms of business structure and something that every single person here can take away, you have to remember that growing a business comes down to fundamentals. Okay, this happens on Shark Tank, all the way to my business, all the way to the people I have who I talked to today who are pre-revenue who are in our programs. It's the same process, okay? And so don't overcomplicate the fundamentals of this process. Okay, number one, you have to find something that you can do that other people think is hard.
It's kind of unique thing, yes.
Yeah, like I don't even care what that is. It could be basket weaving, could be video editing, could be running Facebook ads, building a website. But if other people don't think it's hard, you're not going to make any money in it. So that's the first thing. You have to figure out how to do it. And that's not that hard, to figure out how to do something that other people think is hard. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, you have to figure out how to get one client to pay you. This is where people they start shooting for the stars. They get all these big MBA marketing strategies, the 4 P's of marketing, my business plan, all this stuff, but they don't even know how to get a client. And so they're building 4 P's of marketing, business plans, all these things. They're doing Gantt charts and quadrants and all this stuff, and they don't even know if anybody wants it. You know what I mean? Like you got to get a client to pay you. And let me tell you something. It is super easy to find someone who will tell you, man, that's good. Let me tell you, I don't give a crap about that. Like, and from a business sense, I don't give a crap about that person. And on a personal level, I do. But on a business sense, I don't give a crap if you think it's good. If you didn't give me your credit card, I don't care. Like, I need to find somebody who will pay. Okay. Now, there is a level of business where you might have to do something for free to validate, and that could happen too. Okay. But there needs to be some exchange. Okay. So I'm kind of known as the leverage guy. And if you're doing something completely for free, you're being out leveraged, and you will never grow a business that way. So in this second phase, if you're doing something for free, you have to balance the leverage by saying, when this is complete, when your website is done, when your ad is running, when your sales are there, when you're whatever, okay? When the result is there, you now owe me something. You owe me. A really good thing to do is to say, now you owe me, you got to pay me for my costs. That's a really good business strategy. Costs, people go, oh, I can afford costs. Now, what they don't know is costs can include you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm a cost.
That's the best strategy.
Yeah, so that's a really good one, right? Mm-hmm. Another one at a minimum should be, you owe me a really good video testimonial within 48 hours. Put a timeline on it. Within 48 hours, you owe me this. Trust me, video testimonials, you don't put a timeline on it, 7 years, 6 months, you will never, they'll promise, want to do it, they just don't have time, right? But if you put a timeline on it, they will do it. And you need to make it clear that you're working for free, not just to get them a result. You're working for free to get back what they're supposed to give you. So I always remind them of that, say, hey, okay, I'm going to do this last thing. I'm going to do this last campaign. We're going to make these corrections. Those are great corrections. We're going to get all this set up. And then my hope is I'm going to launch this tomorrow. And in 2 days, 3 days from now, I'm going to have a video testimonial from you, right? See, like, you always want to remind them of their side of the deal. Yeah. So that's the second part, is you got to get somebody that you can test it, that goes, man, this guy, this gal, they know what they're doing. Once you do that, now, okay, this is where people get a little bit too technical about scaling a business. You need to create cycles where everything in your business becomes a cycle. How do I get a client? It's a repetitive cycle. What is that cycle? How did I get the first client? If I don't know how to get a second one, I don't know. Let me ask the guy who I just did the work for. How do I find another one of you? Do you have a referral? Those kind of things. So so you got to create a cycle of, how do you get inbound clients? So inbound, and also outbound is, how do you now create a cycle where you can fulfill on an automated basis as well? Ideally, you create a model where you as a solopreneur are not doing all that. If you can be doing 50%, man, you are ahead of the game. Ideally, you can be doing 80%. You know what I mean? And so so the first person that is a solopreneur, that I've tested this many times over literally thousands of entrepreneurs, the first person you should bring on is a mini me, somebody who's like you. Okay. Somebody who can do like 20%, 50%, 80% of what you do. That's the first person you should bring on in your company. Even before a partner and all that stuff, I think the best, safest play, now if you find a good partner, go for that, but a real safe play is to find somebody who every single day you train them something small that you do that now they can do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's to me, that's the process. In whether it was Telenav, 0 to 20 million in 2 years, AT&T, whether it was Boost Mobile, whether it was, Charter Communications or CompuCom or all these other big companies, or all the solopreneurs we support now, it's the same process, and the biggest in solopreneurism, the problems are slightly different, but one of the biggest issues in solopreneurism is that people a solopreneur is a type of person that thinks they can do 20 things at the same time. This is exactly why they do not they fail. Is because like in our company, when we bring people through, we bring them through a process that's like a literal step by step. We help them build their funnels, build their ads, we help them put all this stuff together. But so some of them come through, and then at the end, their stuff doesn't work. And then they look back at me and they're like, dude, why doesn't it work? And I go, dude, it doesn't work because you're trying to do 17 things at the same time.
Exactly.
You look at me.
Yes.
Yeah, I launched this company, then we did well. Then I launched this company, we did well. Then we launched this. Like we had a singular focus. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't go to the Mentor Lab India website and see 17 different things. But I go to half of the solopreneurs out there. They got every stupid thing in the world, and yet no congruency, nothing synergized, and they got no clients.
Yes. Yeah,
and they trick themselves because they're like, oh man, I know funnels because I got funnels. Oh man, I know Facebook banners because I got banners. I know Facebook pages because I got pages. I know groups because I got groups. I know emails because I got emails. But I'm like, dude, none of it's synthesized. Exactly. It's all telling a different story. It's taken me 25 different directions, and it should just do one thing. It should solve one really good problem for me, and then value stack on top of that. Once you solve a problem, help me solve another problem. Help me solve another problem. You can't solve all my problems at the same time, and that's one of the biggest problems in solopreneurism right now. And that's one of the biggest reasons I have a job, to be honest with you, is because I help people solve that problem.
Exactly. Means many people are just focusing on catching many rabbits at a time, but they should catch one rabbit first, then put it in the cage, then go for another, then go for just like you did. You build one businesses, then it was doing good, then second and third. And people also focus on 17 things like jack of all. You can say jack of all or master of one. It's kind of that. So that's great. So as James, you are also being in the marketing and sales and everything. So how can somebody enter into a marketing career? So somebody is 20 or 22 wants to enter into marketing career. So what's your best advice? How can he or she can enter?
How can somebody join my marketing career, get down this line? Well, number one, I'll say this, okay? And this is no knock on anybody. Entrepreneurism is really, really cool right now, but it is not cut out for everyone, okay? Mm-hmm. And I used to think 10 years ago, I have video of me talking on stage at CES saying, every one of you should be an entrepreneur or you don't know what you're doing. Like, I was so into entrepreneurism, but now I've learned more and I'm like, that's just not true. Okay. Like a true entrepreneur by definition is someone who can stomach the risk. And this is the deciding factor. Okay. If you get slapped in the face by your competition, most people are done. They're out for the count, man. You know what I mean? They join the programs, they join the whatever. It doesn't work. They're out for the count. They maybe got 2 punches and they're done. People that we don't let into our program because they can be great citizens, great business people. They're not an entrepreneur. It's people who come in and they're like, look, man, I've got to make X amount of money by Friday. I need a plug and play program it's like, dude, you're smoking a pipe dream. Okay. Like if I had those just, coming off the paper, you know what I mean? I would do it myself. Like what, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm like, so I think, the first thing I would say is make sure you're the type of person who is willing to accept risk. And a big part of accepting risk is taking responsibility. Okay. And see, the thing is in business, it's the same in sports. It doesn't matter if a referee made a bad call. You still lose the game if you lose the game. You don't score enough points, you lose. Now you can complain all you want, but at the end of the day, you got to put it behind you, go back and make the next play because the other team will. If you don't, they will. In the reality of entrepreneur, and I'm getting more and more aggressive on this topic because I want to push away the like snowflakes, like the people who they're great people, but they're not mentally or emotionally cut out for this game. I cannot help them. And they, like, really, they should go on to be what's called an intrapreneur, which is kind of like an entrepreneur inside of a company, somebody who creates innovation inside of a company, but they have the shelter of the company, and also they're not taking on the risk. So something goes wrong, it doesn't fall on them. They can always pass the buck. You know what I mean? Like in corporate America, it's like everything does good, everybody owns it. Oh, it was me, it was my part. It goes bad, that guy over there is that department. She did it, he did it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
No, but in entrepreneurism, both at all points at me. You know what I mean? And if you're the type of person that scares you, then this game of true entrepreneurism is not for you. Now, like I would define it as there are people who own businesses, LLCs and stuff, and they're what's called a proprietor, where by definition, they're a person who can own a business. They're going to do well. Like they might make, in America, they might make 20 grand, 50 grand, but they're not going to be a real entrepreneur. Like they're not going to be an innovator, a game breaker. They're not going to do, 500 grand in 6 months. They're not going to be that kind of person. And there's nothing wrong. I don't want people to think like you're bad or you're not as good of a human being. It has nothing to do with it. But there is a certain level of like gut instinct or willingness to take hits to the face that you have to be able to take as an entrepreneur. And if you can't do that, you're toast. Like I'll just be really honest and revealing. Like we have coached and had so many paid students now, solopreneurs. We know by the language pattern exactly when somebody's going to quit. I tell all my team, that person, give them 3 weeks, they're done. We're going to pour more into them. We're going to speak more into them. We're going to believe in them. We're going to help them more. Let's try to do it one-on-one with them. But I'm telling you, if they don't change that language, they're done. Yes. And typically that language is blaming other people. Man, I did this launch. It didn't work. Man, I did this. It didn't work. I just need something that'll work. That's not the language of a CEO. That's the language of an employee.
Exactly. And your experience speaks that. You can talk to anyone, you can say, because you have 20, 25 years of experience in the hard work. So you have that I can say, you can see it and talk, and you can tell that somebody is going to quit or not. That's really great. And this show is really going very much full of value. I'm sure this is going to be one of my top episodes of my podcast for at least 5 years. But the value of providing is super awesome. So
you're asking good questions, man. So
yeah, thanks. I have been through your story. Also talking to Tanmay. Tanmay was like talking to he's your student. So he's like, oh man, James changed my life. I'm doing this because of James. He got a good job and he's working with a personal man in India. All because of you. He thanks always to you. I'm going to join him after this episode. He might wants to talk to you for 2 minutes or something. That's really good. So my next question would be like, James, it's 2019. You are telling that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. So what's your, if somebody's asking you, should I do job, or should I do solopreneur, or should I build a business? So what will your advice to somebody?
My new advice is to try to talk them out, because of what we do, and because there's so much hype and get rich quick and bull crap out there that's not true. That my first thing is to talk them out of it, is to say, you know what, you have great ideas, you have great talent, but that doesn't mean you need to do this. And I ask them, I say, why do you want to do this? You make 6 figures, or you make 50 grand, or you make 150. Why do you want to do this? You have security, you have all, like, why? I'm just asking, like, why do you want to do this? Why would you risk all that to do this? What if I've been through tough times. If you've been an entrepreneur, you'll go through tough times, and so there's been a year or two throughout the last 15 years. There's been like 2 different years where it got really tough, and there was one time recently where I had lawyers and all kinds of stuff involved, and one of my accountants, they said, look, you should probably go take this job that Samsung offered you that's between $300 and $400 a year. You should probably go take that job and then ride that out for 6 months or a year and then come back and have a bunch of cash socked away and let's just get back up and rolling. And I was like, I will go live in a 800 square foot apartment and sell everything I have before I do that. And she was laughing so hard. And I said, I'm telling you, that is a true entrepreneur right there. Like I am sold out. Like I would never do that. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't be successful having a business on the side of a 9-to-5. I think that's a really smart thing to do. In fact, I think most people who want to be entrepreneurs, that is the best version of an entrepreneur for them, is to have a 9-to-5. In America, they're going to make between, 40 and 80 a year, and they're going to make on the side 10, 20, 30 a year. They're going to live a great life. They're going to love, you know what I mean? They're going to go to their kids' sports games. They're going to have health insurance, all these things. Man, doing this thing is hard. It is hard, and but if somebody has the guts and they're like, man, I think I can do it. Okay. Here's the only advice I have. And I boiled it down to this. There's all kinds of like wisdom and cool sayings and memes. I'm just telling you, this is the reality. Don't freaking quit. That's it.
That's the bottom line. That's great.
That's it. If you don't quit, I promise you, you will make it. I promise you. The odds are for you if you don't quit. You know what I mean? You only lose money in investment when you take the money out. Don't quit. Because even if you're not learning from your mistakes, sooner or later, getting hit in the head so many damn times, you'll go, maybe I shouldn't do that. Sooner or later, you will learn. You're a human being. You're smart enough to know. Like sooner or later, like some people, they get hit in the head once and they go, I'm not doing that again. Some people, they need to get hit 10 times. But if you don't quit, you will still learn, and you will make it, because the reality is this is actually statistically true. 90% of people are going to quit by the first or second problem that hits them. 90%. So you've already beat 90% of the possible competition just by having enough guts to say, I'm not quitting.
Awesome. That's great. And that's the bottom line. I'm not quitting. James, I started this podcast 1 year back, and people used to say me, oh, you are not using a professional mic. I said, you don't need a mic to interview James Smiley. I have now invited James Smiley on my show without having any fancy setup. You can see I'm sitting at my home. There's a TV and background. I don't need any setup to host people like you. Still, I'm ranking on digital marketing podcasts in Hindi in India, on Google as well as on Spotify, on top 5.
I love it, dude. Entrepreneur. That's what, because you're an entrepreneur, man.
In the process, I will not call it as an entrepreneur. In the process to be an entrepreneur, like it's a process, like following people like you. And you said number one thing in the beginning, that mentor is necessary, because we need someone to follow and someone to guide us. You are like 20 years in business, so you know where is the hole and where is the way. So that's great. So mentor is necessary. That's what I think. And thank you for starting this mentor lab thing in India as well. You're launching in India, I guess. India also.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. The beauty of what I'm doing right now with with Mentor Lab India is the people who are in that group and the people who are a part of it right now. Like I'm literally asking them, what kind of business do you run? What do you specifically need? Right? And I literally will create content, do things to help them. If you reel it back to the 3 things I said, I'm literally doing the same thing that I've done over and over and over. I found something that is hard for people to do. Now I'm literally going and valuing one person at a time. In a lot of people, most entrepreneurs will say, oh, I only got 20 people in the group. only got 50, not that big. I think it's a privilege to be able to serve 50, 20. You see, and that's why it'll blow up, and I know it will, is because people see when you value them. They cannot deny it. And it's more than a course or a home study course. Like when you value them and you want to learn about them and spend time with them, they see that, you know. So that's what I really strive to do, man. It's in my blood. You know, I wish I was perfect at it. I'm like anyone, but I really try hard, man, to have that as my value, and that's how I do business.
You are more than perfect, man. I have gone through your video in Indian group as well. You recently started. It was super awesome. You even the best thing I like about you is like you are a millionaire. Still, you reply to every single comment, every single message in your DMs. That's respect for you, that you are still giving out time to people. So you really mean your word. You know, many people are talking about words, but they don't mean their words. You really mean your words. That's really good. And the best part is nobody from out of international level comes to India to launch this because they think that's hard. And you, man, you think that do whatever is hard. That's really good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't say something?
It's been awesome, man. No, I mean, I just, you know, I've learned that, you know, I like I get between 200 and 270, 280 DMs and PMs a day, but so I actually have a tagging system, like a whole and I actually have somebody who comes in and organizes it a little bit, but so I have priorities, and my priorities are especially the businesses we're trying to grow. And so having priorities allows me to have focus. And I'll just tell you, like, giving people personal touch is something that I personally valued when I was young. I saw the results of it. And so that's the biggest thing. It's kind of like my personal brand and what I'm known for. Is, you know, if somebody comes to work with me, like, man, I will give them as much as I can of you know, personal, you know, I'm not like anybody. I don't have 40 hours in a day. I have 24, just like you, but I'll do everything I can to try to see people as people, try to see problems that they're having as real, and not try to generalize it. You know, it's really easy on the internet. Okay. And this happens a lot in young entrepreneurs who are doing well, they make it, but like somebody helped them get big or whatever. And so they'll get online and they'll say things like, man, making your first $100,000, that's easy. That's like nothing. And they'll be like, you know, hey, man, this is the gold rush. Like, this is so easy. I had somebody say that at my mastermind, speaking at my event one time, my live event. They said, hey, man, we're in the gold rush. This is like, you know, making money on the internet. This is huge. And I said, hey, man, I just want to remind you that in the gold rush, everyone went broke. So, like, just, you know, to say the American gold rush, everyone, it was fool's gold. There was no gold. It was totally false marketing. And so I was like, man, there's a gold mine out there, but it takes a lot of work to put it together and sustain it. And but for the people who are willing to do it, who are cut out for it, man, it is the most rewarding thing you could ever do. You know.
Exactly. The personal brand is equal to personal touch, I think. That's really great.
Yeah. And what I want to do later on in my life, probably my 50s or so, my biggest goal is to, and I don't know, maybe work for the U.S. government. I don't know. I've had people tell me I should run for president. I don't know, whatever. You never know, man. But like, but I would love to enable entrepreneurism and solopreneurism so that when there's problems in America, problems in the world, we enable entrepreneurs to go solve those problems instead of trying to build up our governments or whatever. Like, we should enable people to go solve those problems. You know what I mean? And I think that when you let an entrepreneur go solve a problem, I think it's solved faster, cheaper, on budget. Like it just happens more efficiently. And all the data shows that is true. But a common modern American politician, they're career politicians. They need to protect their ground. They don't want that, you know? So their solution is like, hey, let's start a government program, you know? So anyway.
That's really great. And James, the number one thing I would ask you that things are changing. Like 5 years before, the things were different. Now automation is taking place, AI is coming, and many more like watch technology. So somebody like me or 22 or somebody's 20 who wants to start career in marketing, but things are changing. So how should they take the decision? Which field should they choose? Like Facebook ads, Google ads, they're also getting some saturation points. The Shopify thing.
Yeah.
So,
I think one of the biggest opportunities right now is in something like that's around video. If somebody knows video editing, I think that in like enabling people to do short form video that's branded to them is a big business that is just on the cusp of still blowing up. Like we all know and see the data that video is going to dominate the internet and is dominating the internet now. But the entrepreneurs are looking to take that content and cut it up in different ways. And there just is not a lot of efficient ways to do that. And so I think internationally, it's an interesting proposition because if somebody were to have the right internet speeds where they can actually upload and download the videos, I think that could be a massive business. Like literally, if somebody had to move to a certain city to get the right internet access, like we've been in a position before where we would have literally paid a really good editor to move to a city. We'll pay for their move, pay for their laptop, pay for the hardware, because it's that big of a value to us. Because if we do it onshore in America, that would cost us tens of thousands, if not probably like literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to do that. So I think like there's a lot around that is easy work. It's repetitive. And it's something that is a very easy sell to people. Okay. Like you just say, hey, you see Gary Vaynerchuk's videos? What if I did those for you? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's easy for people to conceptualize, right? Like conceptualizing like a Facebook ad, people, it's like it's a little bit harder for them to conceptualize it. So I think that's a really big one. I think another really big one in terms of international is this whole play around Chrome extensions. I think that the Chrome extensions world is exploding. I think it's an undercurrent of software that like software and mobile apps came and kind of had their mainstay. But yet there's this like, for an American to build a software app that can sit on a browser that an American can build it for between $500 and $2,000 on the average, that's nothing. Like that's so cheap. And for developers to learn it and to code it, I mean, dude, this stuff is like, that's easy money. And so it's a win-win all the way around. And so like I think like somebody's going to take this idea and literally you can make like $500,000 just with this idea. Like find niches and say, okay, we are going to develop a Chrome extensions for digital marketing coaches. We're going to create Chrome extensions for digital marketing agencies. We're going to create Chrome extensions for speakers and book authors. You know what I mean? And then just develop it once and then sell it over and over and over and over and over again, just rebrand and sell it over and over again. I think a lot of those kind of models are really big. Another thing that is huge is going to probably like a lot of people have asked, like, okay, what's next after social media? It's a very common question I get. I think social media is going to be here for a long time. In fact, social media will eventually develop into a VR social media, and it's going to be a kind of an augmented reality and virtual reality where, like it's not a coincidence that Facebook, is doing all this work with VR goggles and all this stuff, and they have the top VR people in the world now working for them, because there will be a day when 80% of Facebook users don't do this on their phone, they do this. There will be a day when 80% of people are wearing goggles versus doing this, and in terms of checking stuff on Facebook. And so, so I think that is like a future that's long away, but something that's in the near term that you can make a significant business out of that's still unknown is there's this big undercurrent of connected TVs where people who are creating digital content are in all companies. So there's companies, service companies that are creating digital content now. It's a massive move to the digital content, but the ability to put it on social media is one thing. The ability to put that content on TVs, it's funny because like everything goes in cycles. Like coming back to the TV, the ability to put that on a smart TV through Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Chromecast, Apple TV. I mean, that industry is going to blow up. You watch, and I just recently made a big investment into it. But that to me is going to be like Brendan Burchard, Grant Cardone, all these big guys in 2 years will be on that. Watch, they'll have paid subscriptions, $10 a month to see their stuff on Amazon Fire or whatever, and then they'll have their free content on there as well, and people will be watching it on their TVs. So it's just another avenue. But the cool thing is it's existing, it's there. The network of televisions and all that is out there, the smart TVs and all that. But it's just a place that entrepreneurs haven't seen yet. It's a little gold mine. They haven't put their eyes on it yet, and it's just going to take like Grant Cardone or Russell Brunson or somebody to get started on it, and everyone's going to do it. Everyone will run an agency how to do it. Everyone will, So there's a girl called TVpreneurs. There's a girl named Angie. She's crushing it on that. But yeah, so I think like that's a big possibility, huge possibility there as well.
Awesome. That's really great things you told. I have gone through many videos. So people always talk to Facebook ads, but these are the 3 new things I got to hear today. That video editing, everybody is making video. 90% of world is going to be in video. Even 100% of world is going to be video. So video editing is the number 1 thing. And number 2 is that extension, Google Chrome extension. Number 3 is Amazon Fire and Apple TV. Awesome. So my next question from this question arises is that let's say somebody wants to go in video editing. So how can they get, you tell the first client thing, how can they get their first client for the video editing thing, if we take an example?
How can they get their first client?
For video editing services?
Yeah, I think what I would do is I would test a few things locally, just like, figure out a computer and what you can do, get Camtasia or something like that. Figure out like logistically how to do it. Okay, that's one thing. Then I would even like just go online, go to YouTube, download Gary Vaynerchuk's videos and see if you can make one. You know what I mean? Like there's like, it's not that hard. There's video content everywhere. Just download somebody's video and see if you can create it. See if you can reverse engineer it, and see what you can do. There's some stuff you won't be able to do. Like it'll be tough to do on Windows, but you can do a lot. You can do like 60-70% of the stuff on Windows. Yeah. So I would just figure out like, what can you do? And then the key thing I would do is I would go into a very big entrepreneur Facebook group, and I would either, if you can, I would make a post and say, hey, I am a short form video expert, parentheses, like the Gary Vaynerchuk videos or something like that, right? Like, I would like to serve this community and give away, free services to 3 clients. I don't know if sometimes you can't say PM me, but drop a comment below if you would like me to work with you. Dude, you're gonna get a ridiculous flood of people. Yeah. Now you be careful how you word it, because some groups you can't word it exactly like that. Like in the ClickFunnels Facebook group, you can make a post like that as long as you don't make any claims to money. I'm going to upsell you. Like, just say like, hey, I'm going to be a free intern for you. If you put it that way, I guarantee you they'll let it go. Say, hey, I want to be a free intern for 3 people. No money involved. Do not PM me. Because it's against the terms and conditions of this page. I just want to add value to people who are in the ClickFunnels. I love ClickFunnels. You know what I mean? Yeah. And ClickFunnels for life. And those people right there, you will find somebody that you can like talk to them, PM them, get them on the phone, whatever. And then from there, figure out who can you do 2 or 3 videos for, but who has the money to continue to pay you. Right? So you can just look at their websites, talk to them on the phone, and you're going to see them go, you know what, this person sounds like they're doing 40 grand a month. They can easily pay for me. You know what I mean? And then, so that's what I would do is I'd try to find one person that you can start out with, that you can do a little bit of free work, prove the value of it. And then from there, just, get a contract. So you're doing $1,000 a month or something like that. And boom, you just go from there. And then on the back end, be training somebody to do the editing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the secret sauce, right? It's like,
yes.
You want to train somebody to do it. So now I mean, to me, it's like playing on the internet because you're just PMing, making posts. Like that's CEOing the company. And then, the work is going to someone else. And so I would try really hard to listen. Like when the entrepreneur gives you instructions, you need to go really slow. You need to make sure that it works. You need to make sure that you double check your work before you send it over to them. And if you're not sure, tell them that. Don't ever send something back and think they're not going to notice. They'll notice. And if they don't notice, a client will notice. It'll come back to them. So just say, hey, I'm not sure about this part. Go ahead and take a look at it and let me know what you think. You know what I mean? Just have really good communication like that. But yeah, I mean, to me, that would be the easiest, free. You don't need a funnel. You don't need a webinar. You don't need any of that crap. Just, the people are sitting there in Facebook, and man, I'm telling you, if you can figure that out, like just you get one person to help you edit, who's going to be there and dedicate and be with you, you can get 10 clients at $1,000 within 2 months. You get 10 clients easily.
Oh,
I mean, the business is that much fire.
Yes, exactly. So question around this is only, so how should they price the services? Like, many people get confused, or some people price overprice like $5,000, or some people price low $100. So what should be the best price? How should they price the services?
I would start video editing at $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And if you did like one video a week, that would be totally worth it.
Awesome, $1,000 a month. That's really great. So that's a golden nugget from you. I'm gonna repurpose this particular thing, a 2 minutes clip where James Smiley is talking about video editing, get video editing clients. And I'm gonna post this video maybe in ClickFunnels group as well. That's really great of you. So
yeah. Hey, but once you get some clients and you're cooking, man, you're doing good. It is easy to charge $3,000 to $5,000 a pop.
Exactly. Maybe we can charge 10, but beginnings we should start with slow, like $1,000.
Yeah. Well, so my video editor, you can look her up. Her name's Tracy Wong. Okay. I taught her this whole process. Her clients right now are Russell Brunson, Grant Cardone, Brendan Burchard, ClickFunnels Corporation, Kajabi Corporation. Like they're doing like almost $100,000 a month.
Awesome. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's really great. When it's working for somebody like you, then getting clients. Yeah.
Yeah. They're almost doing $100,000 a month, and they're like the pros. I mean, they are unbelievable. I think her laptop, her desktop is like $8,000 or $10,000 custom built. Like, but she didn't start there, man. She started with a little teeny old school laptop.
Yeah. Everybody starts with low. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, from scratch. Because she's working with you, so she knows how to get a business from scratch to $1 million. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my now one of my last question would be like, what would be your best advice to your younger self, like your 20 years?
So my 20-year-old self.
Yeah, I know you were still successful. You started in your early teenage, but still, what will be the best advice you will go back and give it to your 20 self?
I think, so number one, this is how I honestly look at the past, and I think that everybody should look at the past honestly in this way, but there is an answer to your question. I wouldn't change anything about the past because I think the reality is everyone assumes that if I would have just said this to that boss, not gotten fired, then my life would have been better. But you don't even know what would have happened. You may have stayed at that job and never had that opportunity you got later, never met the person of your life. Like you honestly don't know. So you always, like, when you think back, it's like people say hindsight's 20/20 in America. Like it's like it seems like, oh man, if I would have just made this decision, my life would have been different or whatever. But you don't honestly know. Okay, so I wouldn't have changed anything, honestly, and I think that's how people should honestly look at it. Even if something bad happened or whatever. But okay. But to answer your question, because this is a legitimate question, and I think one thing that I would have mentored James Smiley about more was how to manage money better and how to value like managing money better. Because because the thing is, like, when you don't have money, okay, a lot of people don't realize this, because in America, most people are middle class. But when you're seriously broke, like I remember my first commission check was $16,000. Okay. My dad made $38,000 the year before. So I made about half of what he made in one month.
That's huge.
In fact, he didn't even believe. He goes, James, you are going to jail. Do not cash that. Something went wrong. You stole something. You cheated. No one's going to pay you at 20 years old $16,000. Okay. So, like, what you don't realize when you're young is that like you have this thought, like, number one, you go into a store and you're like, I can buy anything. Like, I remember thinking that. I'm like, I literally used to not, like, I used to think, man, there's probably like 10 things in the store I can actually afford. Then when you have that kind of money and you're just looking at 40 grand in your bank account, there's not even anything in the store that you couldn't buy. You could buy anything, you know? And so I was thinking so immaturely. So I would literally just buy anything. Like, I remember buying new sets of tires for no reason. I just thought, oh, that new tires look good. They're $1,200, sure. And I'm like looking for ways to spend my money. Like, it was an activity. And see, I didn't realize that what I should have did was put that money away and invest in things like real estate. Like, I have some real estate and stuff like that, but I should have invested better into real estate. Then when I got into real estate, like when the 2008, 2009 housing crisis hit America, I had 7 homes in my name that were all on these really bad mortgages. So I got crushed. I mean, I went from like millions of dollars to just absolutely getting my ASS kicked in. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like I literally got completely annihilated in like a couple months. And so like, I was so careless with money, and you think like, okay, you make your first 10 grand. So then you think, oh, making 100 grand is going to be easy. Well, it's not. You make your first 100 grand, you think making 500 is going to be easy. It's not. So the way that real rich people, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, all these guys and gals who become rich, the way they become rich is not doing what I did. The way they become rich is they make that 10 grand, they invest or save 8 grand. They make another 10 grand, they invest that 10 grand. They make another, you know what I mean? Like, they're investing money instead of looking at ways to spend it. And so anyway, like I just started thinking that like in my mid, like around like 32, 33, when I should have been thinking that at 23, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, like, you know, like, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things is like, I did not manage money well. And like, I can't tell you how many people that want to join coaching or join coaching. And they're like, hey man, like we're doing 5 grand. We went 0 to 5 grand and we're going to do 50 grand now. And I'm going, dude, number one, love the optimism, love the attitude. But just because you made 5 doesn't mean you're making 50. Just because you made 10 doesn't mean you're making 50. You know what I mean? And so like you have to have a real executable plan, like something that actually logically makes sense. And so, And the way that people really advance from where I was is they go from income to wealth. And that's a massive transition I didn't even get until I was like 33, 34. I'm 39 now. I didn't even get that when I was younger. You know what I mean? And so like I look at some of my friends who learned that young and you know, I've got like some ranch properties and like other stuff, but like I don't have like what I should have. And so the good thing is I'm still young, but like anyway, you can go from income to wealth creation on 10 grand. On 10 grand, you can absolutely change. If you took that 10 grand and invested it for 5 years, it could do something crazy in your life. You know, like you just don't realize that, you know, when you're broke, you just think stupid stuff about money, you know? And you like the money seemed to come easy. And so you always assume, well, it was the first 10 grand was easy. So the next 90 grand must be that easy. It's not, you know? Bill Gates, I was in a mastermind when this is before Bill, like this when Bill Gates was young and Microsoft, it was big, but not as big now. But I was in a mastermind with Bill Gates, and he goes, never believe in the theory of line extension. I was like, what the heck does that mean? Like, this is one of those phrases I have no idea. The theory of line extension, what does that mean? He goes, just because your rate of increase of your business, of your checkbook, of your sales, of your opt-ins was this, doesn't mean for the next same period of time it's going to be the same. That could be better or it could be worse. But he goes, an idiot will think it's going to stay the same. Inherently, I'm so good, I'm so smart, it will just stay the same. It will, in fact, it will only get better. He goes, an idiot would think that.
That's exactly. We need an execution plan, exactly. So, talking to this, my last question would be like you're starting Mentor Lab India, and you're also doing in your countries as well. So that's been an opportunity for India. So what exactly you are going to there? Okay, can you just give some summary about Mentor Lab India? It would be great.
Do you want me to tell them how to get in or tell them what it is?
What it is exactly and how to get in both.
So number one, we're starting the exact same way that I just said. So we're not going to say, you know, the wrong way to do it is to say, well, it worked in one country, so therefore let me just take what I do there and go do it somewhere else. Like that doesn't work. And so, so what we're doing is we're just collecting an audience of people and figuring out how to serve them in a unique, genuine, powerful way. And so like if they want to follow us on our Facebook group, they can go to My Mentor Lab India, mymentorlabindia.com.
Link in the description as well.
Yeah, that's the link. If they want to get on mymentorlabindia.com, they can go there. I'm working with I got a great business partner named Raj, who's, you know, from India and done a lot of work there. So, you know, he's helping us out there and doing a ton. So basically what our strategy is to find out, what do people actually need? Do they need to know how to make their first $10? Do they need to know, you know what I mean? Like, what do they need? And then from there, we're going to enable that, build that. We might have to bring somebody in. I might need to call somebody in my Rolodex, but we're going to just every day, just try to help people. And that's how businesses are built. Every day, just going to the grindstone and just understanding real problems and how to solve real problems, you know?
Exactly. Awesome. So you're finding the need, then you're trying to give the solution. That's really great.
Yeah, but my core values of everything we do is going to be around mentoring people. It's not going to be around the worst form of learning is to take, believe it or not, is to take like lecture information, stuff that, so it's funny, this is actually what academia does. They just lecture you, right? This is the worst form of learning possible. The second, like the second worst would be to watch a video of that.
Yes.
So it's just hilarious to me how like that's the core piece of digital marketing right now is these online home study courses. And look, I've learned a lot from an online study course. So I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying most people don't learn that way. And so we're going to rely heavily on mentorship and talking and having meetings and that kind of that's the kind of business we do. So we do have digital information, but the digital information will supplement mentoring.
Oh, awesome. That's really great. Many people are offering courses, but mentorship is something different. Courses are available for free on YouTube as well, but mentorship is never available for free. So that's really great. So guys, if you want to join mentorship, if you want to make James as a mentor, you can check out the link in the description, or you can visit mymentorlab.com and check out there as well. So it was really great and honor to have you, James, as a guest on my show. It's really great. I'm really grateful for you. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meet you in person as well, and maybe in future, maybe you will come in India and shake your hand and thank you in person as well.
Yeah, Kevin Harrington's told me we want to do an event in India.
Oh, awesome! That would be. I will be the first who will book the ticket. So it would be great.
Be awesome, man. Can't wait to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that was it for this episode, guys. See you soon.